Mhm.
All right. Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to the Washington County Online Studios. I'm going to be our host this evening. My name is Gwyneth Manley, and we'll be talking with two fantastic artists. We've got Jim Zaleski and Emily Miller joining us tonight. Before I get started with that, though, I do want to share a little bit about the Washington County Open Studios just in general. So they've been doing these Open Studios tours in person since 2010. Last year, they had to postpone one, of course, because of the pandemic. But this year, we decided to do this event in addition to the in-person one to give artists and participants the option to choose which one fit better with their particular needs. So if you do want to learn a little bit more about Washington County Open Studios, you can find out about them, their mentorship program, or the Washington County artists by going to their website. And we will be giving you the link in the chat at the end of the event, so you can go and check that out. So let's go ahead and get started. Jim, do you want to get started with me? Do our little.
Sure.
Okay, great.
Just tell me where to go.
Okay, all right. Right here is fine. You're doing great. I wanted to start off by talking about, you gave me this word when we talked the other night, traditionalist, traditionalist, excuse me. It's a hybrid word, so it's a little tricky.
Yes.
Can you explain to me what that word means and how you identify by it?
Right. Let me just put this up to the screen for a sec.
Okay.
No, you can't see it, can
You
you?
gotta back it up a little bit. Yeah, there you go. All right, a fusion of old and new methods of creating art. Okay.
Yes. It is a very exciting area, and it's a growing movement. And what it does that is not specifically a computer artist. Computer art unfortunately has a bad name, and people tend to back away when you say, well, I do work on computer.
Because they don't understand exactly
right.
how that, yeah, it's like this mystical.
One of the things that
right.
I concluded after fooling around with this for a while was that the art, the computer art that you see that starts on the computer and it's finished on the computer, what it did was it lacked the human touch.
Mm-hmm.
And there was no way you can get something, some heart and soul into a piece if you don't do it, if you don't have your hands in it. So I have adopted the computer as one tool.
Okay.
I start most of my work as a drawing or a watercolor, and I can get that sense of humanity into the art. And you can see some of my work in the background. I hope that you can see it, but I have been involved with this for probably about 5-6 years. I'm a Photoshop user. All of the material that I get some of it is very spontaneous, like all artists. You get an idea of what you want, you draw it out, and then I draw it out, and most of the time I will take it in while digitize it, either by scanning it or taking it, a picture of it, and then transferring the picture. However, it sometimes is an interesting transition, that some things you feel that are going to work out just great don't, but it's all a journey. And
Right.
very exciting. It is, I'll repeat, it is the way to get humanness back into art that's created on the computer. And just like if it were a gesture drawing or something, I can always tell on a gesture drawing almost the moment that I created it when I see it again.
Right.
And I think that that's due to the fact that I am very much in the moment. I go back to that moment when I see my work, and that can be months and years later, and I go back to that moment of creation.
Can we pull up, you sent us some images that have like kind of step by step. I want to take everybody through those images so that we can really see what the process is visually. So let me go ahead and do a quick screen share so we can see that. This first one is one, I think it's a pen and ink. Is that correct? Can you see? Okay.
You're right.
Okay. So this started as a pen and ink that you did by hand.
Right. This is called Stack of Books.
Okay.
And then I digitized this with a scan and took it into Photoshop. Then I began to do some light coloring. I think the next
image.
Okay.
And this is done digitally, correct?
Right. I blocked in some color as most of artists do. And then I began to work in layers. And one of the things layers allows you to do, it's like having a clear plastic sheet that you can draw on or color in, and you place it on top of the image that you're working on.
Right.
Well, in Photoshop, you do really some of the same things, and you'll see in the next couple of things. And I begin to really get into the color scheme. You'll notice that it's still at this point that it's not bright and it doesn't pop out at you. But the thing that you can do in a digital program is I can brighten this up. I can change the colors. I can
add shadows and depth. Yep.
Right. And so the next one will be, okay, this is the finished product. And you'll see that I added highlights and shadow, and I put in a lamp and
a chair.
If you look at the background of the lamp and stuff, you'll see that the color is textured, that it provides a bit of interest in doing that. And I also had replaced the window on the left with a drawing that was up there, but I liked the geometrics of the window, so I put that up there, and I put in, of course, this chair. I put a book there, and I created the scene, which I did like, and it actually in one-on-one, if you view it one-on-one, it's got fantastic color and life to it. Now that drawing of the books, I could certainly have found things on the internet to do a stack of books, but it wouldn't have my signature style.
Yeah, it wouldn't have your style. When we were talking the other day, you also mentioned something to me about sort of your process building inside when you're adding color to your photoshopped images. how you kind of work from light to dark. And
Right.
I'd mentioned that reminds me of watercolor, because like the traditional
Yes.
medium that you're working in, you kind of do carry those elements of the traditional medium into the digital.
Right. In fact, if you look at the books, I used a water paint brush in Photoshop to do that. So it gives you the sense that it is a watercolor.
Exactly.
And I wanted it very loose and open. And so I was able to pick a brush that gave me exactly what I wanted.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, the digital tool gives you control that you don't necessarily have in traditional mediums.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Right.
and it's like you've made this beautiful hybrid of the two. You've got the control, but you still have that like organic,
Right.
like human quality to it as well.
Right. Yeah. And that's what's really, as I said, I think that's missing in
Mhm.
computer art. And they have programs that can do fantastic things,
Yes.
but they often lack that human touch.
Mhm.
And this is my way of
Yeah.
getting around that.
I love it. I love it so much. I'm going to stop the screen share so we can see you again.
Okay.
I love that approach. And I also, we were talking about this too, as programs are advancing, I think that people's ability to control what they're doing very specifically, and the kind of like digital illusion of traditional medium is kind of advancing and getting closer and closer to what we're used to as the traditional mediums as well. Yeah. That's fascinating.
There are also, what's happening to the graphics world is like all advancing technologies is really incredible. There is a place on the internet where you can go and you can take two photos, let's say portrait photos of two people, and you tell the program to make a blend of these two. Now, it isn't a blend how you think. It's not an overlay, where one would say. It actually, using artificial intelligence, it will print out a realistic, 100% realistic face, which is a combination of the two.
Right.
And it is almost frightening.
Oh my God.
It says, and this face never existed before. And
it's so crazy what they can do.
Right, down to the hairs on the head and stuff.
I mean, so detailed.
You can zoom into it, and there's no way you can tell that was something that was created in the computer.
Right.
So, but
that's so cool. Well, I'm sorry. Thank you so much for sharing this with us.
Sure.
I want to let everybody know where they can see your work too. So I think you'd said that you've got a live show, an in-person show that people can go to.
Yeah.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Okay, Valley Arts Association in Forest Grove. I wrote it down. Yeah, at Valley Arts Association. And also we can find you online. You have a website. Do you want to tell them the website?
Yeah, it's doinart.com. It's DOINART.com.
It's very memorable.
Right. One of the things that I wanted to get across before we go here was not only do you have control over the creation of a piece, but you have control over how you output it.
Right. Yes, that's very true. The
mainly output on a wide format inkjet printer.
Yes.
But I can make it all sizes. I can use different substrates. now that's really something that I think is just it opens the doors of opportunity to get art to people that mainly couldn't afford the original.
Yes, you can do prints. You can even do little products, like if you wanted to do cards or something.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, that is a
Right.
really flexible, like, and I'm guessing you have a very nice printer that does
Yes.
yeah,
Right.
that does high quality prints.
Right.
Yes.
You bet.
I don't want to get going on the printing too much because we do want to get to Emily, but I could talk about large format printing all day. I used to do it for a living.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. So we'll have to
all
talk
right.
about that, just you and me, another time. Maybe during the discussion, we could bring this, we
Okay.
can bring it back up. We're helping me remember.
Oh,
Okay. All right. Awesome.
great. Okay. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you. Okay, Emily, let's move on over to you. Hi.
Hello, Gwen.
How are you doing?
I'm doing well.
It's so fun to do these with you.
It is.
So when we talked, you were telling me about the latest work that you're doing with your most recent baskets, and
Yes.
and they sort of differ from baskets that your crowd may already be familiar with, because the materials come from a place that's very significant to you.
Yes. So I've been stitching these ghost net baskets. Ghost net is reclaimed, well, it's abandoned or lost fishing rope.
Yes.
That's washed up on shore. And I use that, and I also use reclaimed fishing gear direct from commercial fisheries. So that's what I've been doing, let's see, for 6 years, since 2015.
Yeah.
And mostly what I talk about with this process is my connection to Kauai and also the Oregon coast, where I get most of my materials. But I actually started doing these baskets, making these baskets, and I had the idea at my grandparents' home in Maine on the East Coast.
Yeah.
So they lived in a small island called Deer Isle. And in 2015, I learned how to make these baskets with cotton cord, taking a class there.
Oh.
And I learned on my grandmother's sewing machine. It was a vintage metal Singer, and this is actually
That's it.
this is the sewing machine.
Beautiful sewing machine.
It is a champ. It will
Yes.
sew anything. It is all
Yes.
steel. It weighs a ton.
Yeah.
So I discovered that working with reclaimed materials, the place they come from and the sort of connection I have to them becomes really significant to me,
Yes.
in terms of sort of carrying their story forward, the materials themselves. So I didn't expect this to happen, but almost every piece of rope I use, 6 years later, I can pick it up and I know where I got it.
Wow.
I am sort of amazed.
That is amazing. That's like
Yeah.
a strange little superpower that makes you like uniquely qualified for the job that you have.
Yeah. It's that gesture moment.
It is. Yeah. I really related to that. It
You
takes me
never
back.
forget it.
Yeah. Yeah. So this material, early in 2021, early this year, I lost both my grandparents to COVID.
Yeah.
And I had the opportunity to go back and help settle their estate early this summer. So this was the first time I had been back since before the pandemic, and I would go every year before that. And I had a chance to collect rope.
Yes.
The place where it all began for me, where I learned to make these baskets in 2015. And it's a big lobster fishing town. So there is a lot of material there. Yeah. It washes up on shore, and it also is available from the local fisheries. There's actually a lot of really cool other recycled art being done with it there. So all of this material I brought home in my suitcase, along with the sewing machine, which I brought home in my carry-on.
Wrapped up in all of the rope.
It was in a separate,
separate thing.
Hard side metal carry-on. Yes. So I was able to bring home all of that material, and creating these baskets has been a really different process for me. This is the first batch of baskets I've made with it so far. And it's sort of a continuation of, I guess, the grieving process that I'm still going through, and my connection back to their home place and just them and their history. Their Deer Isle, their house was, I went there every year my whole life.
Yeah.
So it was,
Yeah.
it was a home to me. And having this stuff here to work with now has been really great.
Mhm.
And it's also completely different colors than I
Yeah.
find on the Pacific coast. It's completely different colors than I find in Hawaii and
Mhm.
also here in Oregon. And that's really interesting. I
Yeah.
would like to find out why
You
Atlantic
mentioned
coast fishermen.
it was like associated with the ocean though, instead of the coast necessarily. So it was like you found the ones for the Pacific Ocean were one color palette and the ones for the Atlantic Ocean were like the other color palette.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
That's so crazy.
And I don't know why. So I have, do you want to screen share? Or do you want me to
Yeah,
screen
I'd
share?
like, oh no, go ahead. Do your screen share. I'd love
Okay.
to see I think you have images collecting the material, which is always so
Yes.
fun because it's such a huge amount of material.
Yeah. Okay, so let's see, full screen.
Whoa.
So this is the Sunshine Bar, which is about a couple blocks down the road from my grandparents' home in Maine. So I have memories my whole life of walking down this road to this
Mhm.
beach. And the last few years I've been there, every time I go, I pick up rope because that's my thing.
It's your thing, yeah.
So when I went this summer to their home without them, I went to this beach and picked up rope. So this is Ghost Net,
Yes.
which has been lost or abandoned at sea that I pulled out of all that kelp, which is quite a process.
I'm sure I get all the stuff off of it. Yeah.
Yes. It's triple washed and it's still, it still smells like the ocean, not in a bad, gross way, but just in, it's sort of a salty way, even after triple washing. So
yeah, I mean, it's an appealing smell when it's in the air. Yeah.
yeah, it's not the really like, oh no, we need to keep walking.
No dead seagull bits or anything.
Right.
Yeah.
So I got Ghost Net on the coast there, which is, that is how I started, exactly how I started from this exact same beach. And then I thought, I will go, actually a local fisherman who I just stopped to talk with tipped me off to this. He said, you want a lot of rope, you ought to go to the Stonington dump. Stonington is a town at the south end of Deer Isle. And this is what I found there.
Oh my gosh.
And this to me is a really good time.
Yeah.
So they let you into the dump in Maine, which they don't do everywhere. And you can just take, what you need. So there's a pile of just fishing rope. And I was able to bring home a couple of boxes worth.
Look
I
at all
restrained
the colors
myself.
in there.
Yeah, there's really cool colors.
There's really cool colors.
Here are some of the new colors that I've been working with, and pretty much everything you see. Well, I have some orange already from Oregon, but most of the colors here are new.
Yeah, the red is new. I hadn't seen that before. And the like kind of, you've had some like seafoam greens and blues in the past, but yeah, these guys are much more like a eggshell blue or something like that.
Yeah, it's a real true blue, not a green blue. And the black and white stripe, I got really excited about it.
Ah, that's fun. Yes. Awesome.
So this is the process of me stitching them on the sewing machine. It's a simple zigzag stitch that I just go sort of through each line of the rope and go round and round and round in circles until the basket is the shape that I want it to be. So here are the new baskets that I've made so far with this material.
You're doing an exclusive basket sale today,
yes,
right?
Yes.
Okay.
So you are the first people to see these baskets.
Yes.
All right.
You should all feel very honored. Emily's baskets go quick, so that's good to be the first ones in on it.
Yeah, I wanted to give people an opportunity before they all fly away somewhere else, that if somebody sees something they like, that we're going to share a link at the end. It's ejmillerfineart.com/online studios. And I'll put that in the chat later.
Yes. Awesome.
But these baskets are on there and you can just email me the numbers that you want.
And these ones are particularly special because they have the sentimental value and they're in a new color palette. So, people can try out some new colors with them. Speaking of the reclaimed material, I wanted to mention another project that you have going on right now that sort of ties in through its use of reclaimed material from Maine as well.
Yeah, so the Thousand Moons project is really a grief-centered project that is mostly what I've been working on this year.
Mhm.
And that is the moons, the little circles that are hanging up behind me.
Yes.
After my grandmother passed in January, I was thinking about, it was a full moon a few days or a week later, and I was looking at the moon. I mean, we had a clear night in Oregon. How weird is that in January? So I could
Yeah.
actually see the moon.
Yeah.
And just thinking about all the full moons that I had seen rising over the ocean from
Mhm.
their house in Maine.
Yeah.
And just that I was seeing it without her for the first time in my life. And I thought, well, how many moons has she seen did she see in her 94 years of life?
Yes.
So I figured it out.
You did the math.
Yes, I mathed it out. And it was 1,175
Oh
full
my gosh.
moons in 94 years of life. And I thought, what does that look like? You know,
Yeah.
as an artist, that's what you're always thinking, like, well, what does
Yes.
that look like?
We want the visual.
Yeah. And I started cutting these moons out of handmade paper that I had made years ago. And I used up all my paper
Yeah.
that I already had made. And I thought, I want to make more. I want to make all the moons
Right.
in her life. So I had started making new paper, and I brought home seaweed and sheet music
Yes.
from their home in Deer Isle when I went this summer, along with a suitcase full of fishing rope.
Fishing rope and a Singer's sewing machine.
Yep, and a vintage sewing machine and a lot of
partridge in a
seaweed.
pear tree.
Yeah. I did get some questioning looks
I
from
was gonna
TSA.
say, did security mention anything?
Actually, the one thing they mentioned was the metal lawn ornament that I brought back from my grandmother's garden.
Right.
The fishing rope was okay.
Yep.
The kelp was okay.
Yep. Now can I take over the plane with some kelp? That makes sense. Yes. But sorry, we got derailed a little bit there. So the Thousand Moons project is ongoing.
Yes. So I am still making the paper. I still have more kelp and sheet music to process into paper. I haven't finished cutting out the moons, and I expect it'll be going on for probably about another year. So I am sharing my process as part of the project, not just the finished product, but
I love that so much.
Thank you. Like where I'm at with thinking about it, with thinking about grief, just where I'm at with it as a process. I will be sharing ongoing. I do have a webpage for it, and I also have a GoFundMe set up. So that's also on the webpage link.
Great. And so we're going to be posting all of these links will be in the chat for everybody to see after we do our Q&A, which I think we're getting into now. Correct? Okay. So here's how the Q&A works. If you are in the audience and you'd like to ask a question, you can type it into the chat. If you don't know how to access your chat, you wave your little mouse over the bottom of the screen and you can see a little chat bubble there. You should be able to find it. So please send your questions our way, I should say, so we can answer them. And then while we're sitting here, I wanted to go back to with Jim. I thought of a few questions myself to get us warmed up. So Jim, your printer situation, I was curious about this. Have you ever done anything on metal?
No, I haven't yet. My printer is capable of it.
Oh, okay.
I have used, it's a metal coated paper that
interesting.
That is very interesting, what it does to the ink. And I will eventually try, an aluminum substrate on this. I have an Epson P800, and it's kind of the state of the art. State of the art for artists. It's not a production machine by any means, but
Right.
it gets the work done. But yeah, I would like to experiment with different substrates. And nowadays they're printing on everything.
They really are. When I did the large format printing, we had a big flatbed printer, and I'd learned how to run that, and we were running things like wood and sheets of
Oh,
acrylic
wow.
and like metal through it, which I think, especially with abstract work, I have seen is really a cool effect to have either the wood grain from the wood come through,
Wow.
or have a little sheen from the metal come through. It's very interesting.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah. And then how about a technical question for Emily? So in the construction of, because you were explaining how you sew them through, do you have like an idea of what shape the whole basket's going to be when you're done, or does it kind of create that as you go?
I sometimes start with an idea, and sometimes the basket agrees with me, and sometimes it does not. So kind of like Jim was saying, sometimes you have an idea and it works out or it doesn't.
Mhm.
And you just don't know, what each piece of rope is going to want to do. And
Right.
that's one of the things I like about reclaimed materials. They all sort of have their own things to say.
Yeah, it's very organic. So I just want to state again that if anybody has questions, you can please enter them into the chat. That would be fantastic.
I had a question for Jim.
Yes, go for it.
How do you choose what scale you want to present your sort of ideal vision of each piece at?
Size wise,
Yeah.
I experiment. Oh, hey, that kitty.
Yeah, she waited till the Q&A at least.
One who was sleeping. Yeah, I experiment a bit, and I will do a large one when I think that it deserves more space. Those, especially the abstracts, I can print up to 17 by 22 inch print, and that's sizable. When you're doing the type of work that I do. I do a lot of people and landscapes and across the gamut. And I'm always looking for textures and color combinations that I can digitize and use. And it's an amazing process. If you take something that's colored into a digital program, then you can start selecting the fine colors that are in there, and you might not see them in regularly, but the size, sometimes you need to blow it up so that you can see it. And I will often go back into a piece that I've done, find an area, the kind of the sweet area of the thing, that where everything works, and I will digitally cut that out and use it again. Sometimes one piece will turn out to be 4 or 5 pieces, because I can expand it. I can
like a triptych or something.
Yeah.
We have a question for Emily, which I can read. Emily, are you finding that the shapes that speak to you for the materials found on the East Coast are different from the work from the Pacific Coast?
I am moving towards different shapes. And I'm not sure if it's in response to purely the material or my state of mind and the material. I am wanting to make baskets with lids for the first time ever. And I think just it is partly the different colors. I don't know, something about that black and white stripe. I really responded to that stripe. And also the tall forms on this side were created this year early on, I think I would say in my sort of feeling my grief process. And those are actually made with Pacific rope, but they were made specifically with my grandparents in mind.
Mm-hmm.
And that tall shape repeated is not something I had ever done before.
It's interesting how like the things you're processing or like the emotions you're processing come out visually, and I think it's true for all of us as artists, how it expresses itself in the things that we are creating and the ideas we have.
It's interesting for me. I'm not sure if this is true for other artists. I'd be interested to hear what the two of you think, but for me, I go in a direction and I don't really understand why or even where I'm going until after I'm sort of halfway down the path. And then I can sort of take a step back and think like, okay, what am I doing? And why am I doing this? But it's not always clear at first.
Yeah. I don't know. That seems relatable to me. I'll go into a product within because I kind of do mine as I think of them as individual products. And so I'll go into something with an expectation of how it's going to shape out. And then sometimes once I actually see it manifested as a real object, I start going, this is how it could be better, Yeah. So it's kind of like that. I guess the creative process as a whole kind of is similar between our two styles. I don't know. What do you think, Jim?
I'm not sure.
Fair enough. Awesome. Okay, so do we have any other questions? I'm going to post. Oh, it looks like we have a question for Jim. Okay, so do you ever get towards the end of a project and then decide that you want to completely change all of the colors?
That's a great question.
That is a good question. Because you can with the digital art.
Yes.
Yeah.
There are controls in the program that you can change the entire palette with a slide bar.
Right, of course.
I have often taken something, let's say, and created it in a warm color, but it looks a lot better in a cold, the blues and greens and stuff. That is one of the magic things. I often say that computer art, Prodigalist does not press magic buttons and things happen. You have to make artistic decisions every point into the project, but to have the ability to change the entire palette of a piece is awesome.
Yeah,
it really is. And I try not to overdo any kind of special effects. They're there, but it's like any other art project that you have to decide what's best to use, because the final piece is a reflection of you. And so what you put into it, they're going to, your audience, your clients are going to see that. So
yeah.
So Gwyn, I want to thank you for hosting and just let everybody know that this is something that Gwyn does.
I do.
Omni Open Studios has been an amazing event that I've participated in as an artist and an audience member. And it's a similar format to this, but a little bit different. So
Right.
You want to
Yeah.
talk about that a little?
Sure. A real quick plug for my the Open Studios project. So we started doing this project at the beginning-ish of the pandemic. Actually, Emily was one of the people that I was like bouncing ideas off of before I even really got it going, because I honestly I was very unsure about it when I first got it going. But the first event we did, which Emily participated in, was a great success, and we had a really good time and people came and saw it. So now the Omni Open Studios we do events like these. We've done artist videos, which are like process videos that I've edited together with the help of the artist whose project we were focusing on. And then I'm also doing a podcast now. So the next event won't be until September, but if you're interested in either participating in the podcast as an artist being interviewed, or if you are interested in just listening, you can find the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or on the Studio Gwyneth Patreon. And if you go to the link that I've posted here, you'll find information about the podcast, our YouTube channel where you can watch previous events, and ways for people to apply and get involved in the project. But basically, it's just an artist support project, and it's just meant to help artists connect with their audiences online.
I just want to say one more thing about how awesome this program is. That I remember, Gwen, you were helping me haul fishing gear
Yeah.
in your pickup truck.
My pickup truck.
Because you have a
Yes.
pickup and I have a Prius.
Yes.
So you've been involved in the sort of environmental work that I've been doing. And I remember when you started Omni Open Studios, you said to me, like, I've found my thing.
Yeah.
That's like GhostNet for me, that just like your passion project, basically, that you had been sort of trying to figure out like what you wanted to do to make a difference. And it was Omni Open Studios. And I think that's so cool.
Right. I was like, your thing is environmental stuff, and I'm taking on like the needs of our community and like, the issues that we go through and what we need to talk about in our community. Yeah.
I love that.
Thanks for remembering that. I remember that conversation too, because it was kind of an aha moment. Yeah. Well, that's awesome. Well, this was such a great event. Thank you everybody for coming and joining us. It looks like there aren't any more questions in the chat, so I think we can call this the end unless anybody has something else they want to contribute. No? All right. Well, then go to those links, check out people's works, go find Emily's baskets, go see Jim's work on his website. And yeah, I really encourage you to go and check those links out.